Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl presents a virtual world that goes far beyond a traditional video game environment. The zone is not merely a background for scripted missions, but a complex living system in which narrative, visual, audio, spatial, and ethical elements are deeply interconnected. From a narrative perspective, the game avoids traditional storytelling based on cutscenes. Instead, the story unfolds through missions, exploration, discovering documents, and NPC interactions. Main missions guide the player through the zone while gradually revealing the protagonist's identity and the mystery of the zone. Secondary missions, although they are optional to play through, deepen world building by showing faction conflicts and everyday survival, reinforcing the idea that the world exists independently of the player's advancement. The first-person perspective improves immersion by placing the player at the center of events. Rather than observing the story, the player experiences it directly, which increases cognitive load and makes the narrative fragmented and personal. Visually, the game world is inspired by the real Chernobyl exclusion zone and post-Soviet architecture. Each location has a distinct identity shaped by architecture, color palette, lighting, and environmental details. The combination of 3D models and realistic textures allows the environment itself to communicate narrative meaning such as danger, abandonment, and history. Audio design plays an equally important role. Ambient, atmosphere sounds, weapon effects, mutant roads, and NPC voices constantly inform the player about threats and events. Sound often precedes visual contact, increasing tension and reinforcing the horror atmosphere. Different locations have distinct soundscapes that guide attention and emotional response. Proxemics or spatial design is used to shape emotional experience. Narrow corridors and underground laboratories force close-range encounters, creating fear and vulnerability, while open spaces provide temporary relief but introduce hidden dangers like radiation and anomalies. Distance also triggers scripted events, making movement a narrative mechanism. Progress and experience in Stalker are recorded not through abstract achievements or badges, but through ranks, player's reputation, access, and equipment. Advancement is tied to exploration, survival, and meaningful interaction rather than explicit rewards. This feature reinforces realism and immersion, as progress feels earned rather than granted. Ethically, the game emphasizes free will and consequence. The player is rarely presented with explicit moral choices, yet every action carries ethical weight. Decisions regarding factions, violence, and objectives influence reputation, narrative outcomes, and even the game's ending. The zone does not judge the player overtly, but it responds to his behavior in subtle and persistent ways. In conclusion, Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl represents a sophisticated example of virtual world design, in which narrative, audiovisual elements, spatial structure, systems, and ethics are deeply intertwined. The game does not simply tell a story, it constructs a space in which stories emerge through interaction. This approach transforms the player from a spectator into a participant, creating an experience defined by presence, uncertainty, and personal interpretation.